I'm Lori Timoney with Go City, and let me introduce my co-host, which I think you probably know. I'll start with Bruce.
Hey,
Bruce?
Bruce Rosard. I'm one of the co-founders of Arrival, and it's great to be back post-Arrival DC for sure. Christian.
Yeah, Christian Magpie. Yeah, excited to be back post arrival. I also squeezed in a web and travel show the week after in Singapore. So happy to be back.
And then just happened to travel via the Middle East home to Ireland or wherever it is you're going next.
Yeah, not Middle East. Yeah, I did Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and right now I'm in Kazakhstan. So it's my first visit to the stands.
Masha is from that area originally. So Masha, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Masha Sharma. I'm a VP of Merchant Experience at Groupon, and I'm here to make the operator's life easier, no matter what the size is, from enterprise to, a smaller mom and pop shop.
And where are you from originally?
So I was born in Kazakhstan, lived there for 2 months of my life, and then I spent the rest of my childhood years in Moscow. And since I was 15 years old, I've been here in the United States in the DC area.
Gotcha.
And Masha, I met Masha at the Arrival DC conference first time, and we had a lot of good conversation. So we're happy to have her joining us today. And Carrie?
Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie Keplinger with Groupon. I joined the team in January as the VP and GM of Things to Do, really focused on that vertical for our company. And we're in other verticals as well, but that's a part of our transformation project.
Cool. So one of the reasons we wanted to chat with Carrie and Masha today is because these guys have seen, I think it's a double-digit growth for the last 6 quarters. I can definitely attest to that, being that we work with Groupon at Go City. So what is it that, what's driving that, those amazing results? Like what is happening over there right now? Who wants to jump in?
I'll start. It's not coming easy. I think that post-COVID, Groupon was probably in a pretty dire situation. And Dushan, our CEO, came in and really started rebuilding it from the ground up and has brought in a lot of talent, and we've done a lot of hiring. So we're all in for trying to completely change the way that we're interacting with customers, merchants, and really the whole industry in terms of how Groupon works. And so all of it's just a lot of hard work under the hood.
That's awesome. So what's growing? Are there certain categories, something that's surprising you, or what's happening?
Things to Do is definitely at the forefront of our growth. So we're seeing success in other verticals as well. And what we're doing right now is taking the Things to Do playbook and kind of pushing it out to the other verticals. But I would say Things to Do is at the forefront of growth for Groupon at the moment. And we're just finding that customers are picking it back up very quickly, right? It doesn't take long to reconnect with Groupon and remember what it is. And then in younger geos or demographics, we're just trying to get the word out around Groupon in general.
When you say things, when you say Things to Do, Carrie, is it the same definition as like a Viator, or is yours broader, or how would that be different?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. It's broader. So we think of traditional Things to Do as tours and attractions, but we have a whole nother subset of Things to Do in local activities. So this is trampoline parks and mini golfs and things like that are really hyper local in smaller markets, or any zip code, if you think of it, even outside of a major metro, where you see most of the OTAs are really honing in on those metro cities. That's not Groupon's play at all.
What percentage would be the Viator type product versus that local stuff?
It's hard to say, but I might say something like 60-40, 60 where we overlap. And that's top of head. but we definitely have a whole nother subset of our inventory that's very hyper local.
So let's talk about Masha's role. I think it's really super interesting. Your role, Masha, is to help merchants at Groupon of any vertical do better business working together with Masha, right? Excuse me, with Groupon. Tell us a little bit about that and how you do that, because working with OTAs, that could be the bane of existence for what we call operators, is if the smaller ones just don't get that attention. And it sounds like that's something that you're working on, getting the SMEs more attention, as well as, of course, working with your enterprise.
Absolutely. So I'd say it's actually we're in a perfect time and in the perfect place. So number one, Groupon has accumulated a lot of data over the years about all the different cohorts of operators, merchants, from different verticals. Second of all, the advancements and availability of AI and applied AI in general. It's kind of when you combine these two things together, we can now at scale analyze our real data, train our models, fine tune our models to specific verticals or specific cases. Like I work with Carrie and they are producing guides and how kind of we as humans, right, structure the marketing materials for certain deals. That's just an example. That kind of thinking we transpose to AI and AI agents. And now we're able to look at what's being put out there in the form of a Groupon deal from all these different angles and all these different perspectives. And this isn't backed by fluff, which we know sometimes, generic models generate. This is backed by real data, by real analysis, by real consumer demand and signals.
So Masha, I know you're obviously very involved in creating, well, I guess in terms of AI, can you kind of give us an idea of what your role is in having having the company adopt AI and ensuring that that what you're working on is, kind of AI first, is what I kind of understood when we spoke when we were at Arrival. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Great. So actually, the directive here at Groupon and the major culture shift this year has been that everybody has to be AI first. Our hires have to be AI natives. And so I am one of the many AI native executives and employees here at Groupon. And what that means to me is I'm kind of here to set an example for others, but my method of work is with any idea that I'm presenting, or even if I'm thinking and ideating through something, I start with building a proof of concept, right? And it doesn't matter the level of complexity. I've done one on a language, on the location framework. I've done one on this massive source of truth knowledge graph. I'm training my own small language model. Now, all of these things are accessible to all of us, no matter, how technical someone is, right? That sets a standard and an example, right? If I can do this, everybody on my team can do it. I work with product managers, and we do a lot of prototypes. Not just engineers can do it. Our business partners are actually coming up with their ideas on how to automate what they do today using AI. And
What would be an example of that?
So I'll give you an example. We have content operators that have created their own vibe coded POC that analyzes images. Right? That's a simple example. Like, let's look at the assets that we're putting out there on the marketplace and look at it from that consumer perspective, right? So again, transposing how we humans think and perceive text, images, right? And transposing that thinking into your AI agent or in an agentic flow.
Hey, you used a phrase that I've never heard of. I'm sure Christian has. Not sure about Lori yet. Small language model, right? Am I the only one on this call that doesn't know what that is?
So it's a domain-based model, right? The large language model, these are your open AIs of the world and Tropics of the world. The
right.
small language model is the one that you own, train, fine-tune yourself with your own data, with your own data set. I believe that there is a lot of power in it. And now when you combine availability of pre-trained small language models, so they're pre-trained on billions of tokens, right? Using linguistics, using, multiple data sources. You bring this in-house, train it on your own data. And when you pair that with powerful GPU, which also used to be expensive and inaccessible, and now it is accessible and it is cheaper, right? Then our over reliance on generic models kind of goes away. And what you are left with is something that can generate a more precise, predictable outcome that is specific to your business need.
What's the outcome though? What's moving the needle? Is it creating the offer? Is it creating a recommended offer? Is it serving? Are you personalizing to customers with this? Are you actually personalizing, not just saying that you do it like every OTA says they do it, but doesn't actually?
So to a degree, there is a level of personalization to the audiences that we're targeting with these offers, right? And we do know kind of who buys and why and when and where, right? But ultimately, what's moving the needle is having the abundance of the historic data of what has happened to predict the future and to structure the marketing materials around those deals in such a way that it's conducive to conversion.
Yeah, I would just add, I think a lot of foundational work is happening right now that will set the stage for personalization. And Christian, you're right. I think it's going to take more time until you see that interface on the customer level, but it's definitely on our roadmap. And I feel like we are moving very quickly because we've got so many work streams going at the same time.
Because you get the frequency which OTAs don't get, right? That's always I've got lots of problems with personalization, but the OTAs don't have the data. Even Booking doesn't have the data for most people. And I just tested Booking yesterday, and they just don't do any personalization. They all say they do. I do an incognito window versus my app, where I order like 100 rooms a year, and it's identical almost. But you have got data and frequency of people buying these things. I don't know how often the average person buys it.
Let's talk about one of Christian's now, I guess, favorite topics, brand, which I never knew that was one of your favorite topics until your video from, I think that was Uzbekistan yesterday, right? But the Groupon brand has gone up and down, right? And I would say in a lot of ways is down in our space. And obviously that's part of your reason to be there, Carrie, is to help bring it back up. Like what's the idea of what you'll do with the operator's perspective, and why they didn't like Groupon for a while, quote unquote. I'm just repeating what people say, and the plans to change that and the work that Masha's doing that can help to change that from their perspective. Because I think consumers love buy one, get one free, which was the original Groupon model that drove merchants crazy, right? So, I think it's a broad question, but it's core to what the question you probably get every day.
I'll start with the customer side. So we still do deliver value, and Groupon as a machine is very powerful. So if somebody wants to sell tickets for next weekend and they call us up, we can deliver that very quickly.
Yeah.
And the operators can't usually do that themselves. So we still have a lot of demand for that on the operator side. And we see this as like when we're working with operators as a consultation, right? Because we want them to be happy with their direct business. We have to feel incremental to them. We have to be able to prove that. So we do continual surveys on it. But we want to work with the supplier to make sure that at the end of the day, they're whole and that they're really happy with how we're supplementing them. Are we filling in midweek? Are we doing off-peak time periods? We're really good at that. So we're definitely doubling down there. And in terms of the brand, we're still a verb, right? So to the older generation, it doesn't take long to if you save a couple of times on Groupon, you'll start using it again, especially as we're making the platform better. And the challenge for us is to get that out to the younger younger generations, but I'm seeing it already in my own community. It's starting to stick. A lot of it is I talk about it a lot, but you see it doesn't take very long for it to start to go across. So as we're building up and improving the platform, I think our brand still is growing, is going to come back.
And you do have that big advantage of an app, right? Where like, why would I use other OTA apps that I only book on once a year or twice a year versus if I am booking local things on Groupon, it's actually an app that I could see having on my homepage, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to change the way that we work as a distribution partner. There's no way that, 5 years from now, we're all going to be doing the same thing, working with the same players and in the same way. But I think there's so much opportunity for us as an aggregator to continue to develop the direct supply, which we're doing, we're really doubling down on, and then providing that out to whether it's like maybe the distribution landscape looks different. Maybe it's TikTok, Netflix, things like that, Amazon. But there's still just so much runway there, I think, because there's so much demand still from the suppliers to have a channel like ours.
So the incremental, you talked about it being an incremental source of customers. So how is it incremental? Can you talk a little bit about that? Why do you consider it incremental?
Well, we do fill in a lot of midweek sort of off-peak periods in a very significant way. So that's the most obvious way that we prove incrementality, but we also survey all the time. So every single one of our partners gets surveys where we check in with our customer base and we'll make adjustments. But as we go into dynamic pricing, if you're buying like peak July 4th, you might pay full price on Groupon. But if you buy, on a Monday morning or something like that, you might get a huge discount. And that sort of pricing dynamic changes based on how much demand is in the market or what the supplier needs. And we can really
where's that dynamic pricing happening? Because doesn't it have to happen within the res system of your merchant? So explain, because dynamic pricing is certainly one of the hot buttons right now. Explain how that works when you have a merchant.
I think
go ahead.
Different than many OTAs, we're fine with dynamic pricing. We're actually already doing it in many cases. So for us, we can work with static, variable, or dynamic. In the case of a dynamic, we just ingest the pricing and then we stamp on a commission rate, right? And the customer buys it.
The operator has dynamic pricing capability on their end, you can ingest it, right?
That's right. Yeah, and we're kind of indifferent. There's some instances where we'll work with a supplier and we can prove that it'll sell better if it's not on dynamic. In other cases, we want it. So again, we just consult with the supplier and we try to customize it based on whatever will be the best output for both of us.
Right.
Well, it's interesting because I remember, and I think, to your point, Bruce, about brand, I think one of the challenges, I'm guessing one of the challenges that Groupon may have had is kind of overcoming that notion that you have to be discounting your ticket 50% in order to be on Groupon. And obviously that's evolved over the years. Certainly seen that, at least from my standpoint, working with you directly, but also just in general, to go on your site, you can see some tickets sold at retail, some sold, at a discount. And what is your overall strategy on that? And so if one of our operators listening was interested in working with you, but had that sort of idea of, oh, it's a discount, or like, I don't know if I can do that. What is your story that you tell them?
Yeah, it's custom. So we want to provide the highest quality supply at the best available deal that we can. And we do prioritize deals because people do want to save money on Groupon. That is a real thing. But at the same time, we have a lot of customers buying at market rate that are very happy with their experience as well. So for us, it's like sitting down with the supplier and figuring it out. I talk a lot about segmentation. If you're one of 10 walking tours, you're probably going to need to discount your tour if you want to sell it on Groupon and you want to win there, because we will prioritize the one that's a better deal. But if you're a brand that sits by itself and sells on its own sort of thing, then you might be at market rate. And that's where we just work back and forth with the partner to kind of refine it over time and find the sweet spot.
Okay. I'd love to chat. Go ahead, Christian. Go ahead.
No, I'm just getting excited. I'm just thinking economics, and you guys are actually in a great position with the breadth of supply, and you guys are kind of the market for all of this stuff. And now you throw the AI, which maybe you were going with, Laurie, you throw the AI into that, and you're kind of the clearinghouse for every thing to do. That's pretty exciting place to be right now, I think.
And
That's how it feels.
And not just that, right? If you think about this, we service other categories as well, right? So you have a mom that is, booking a massage, or she's looking to get her nails done. And as she's scrolling through, oh, well, things to do. What can I do with my kids locally? Oh, what is the big venue, right? So you now have this journey of the customer that didn't just come there for an attraction. They could have come for something else and ended up buying an attraction deal, right? And that's something that doesn't exist on other platforms. Huge value add.
Yeah, my understanding is a few years ago, you pretty much put escape rooms on the map and sold so many escape room tickets that no one else is paying attention to, right? But those are new users that come in, and you, Masha, start to collect that data. And if I'm interested in escape rooms, maybe you're going to start pitching bowling to me or whatever, right? Like another local thing. So I'd love to understand more about how are you aggregating and using customer data in a way, of course, using privacy appropriately, but in a way that you're now putting notifications in front of users based on their purchase decisions in the past. Well, if you're getting your nails done, how about a massage? Or if you like the escape room, how about whatever, right? Is that also the kind of data that you're using?
Yeah, well, we do have recommendations and recommended deals, and we're kind of just, I would say, at the beginning, right? There's so many different ways to optimize what we're doing, and we have a very exciting and a robust roadmap that's rolling out features very quickly around all these topics.
Can you give us a hint of what's to come? What's the coolest thing on the roadmap
that you're allowed to talk about?
Carrie, do you have something? Because I can think of a few things.
Oh, we want to hear from you, Masha. We talk to Carrie all the time.
Yeah, go ahead, Masha.
You put me on the spot, right? Oh, goodness. Let me collect myself for a moment. If we can go to the next one, and then I'll answer.
I was going to ask why you think, how many services / things to do you have? I think Viator just said they got 400,000. Do you guys know how many you have?
I don't have a total inventory count for you. I'd have to come back to you on that one.
More than 400,000?
I don't think so. And one of the things that we've done over the past 3 or 4 years is tried to really clean the quality of supply. We're not going after everything. We're definitely playing the game of trying to bring in higher quality at the moment.
Yeah. Isn't curation the buzzword right now, Christian, though? I mean, let's face it, this is pretty much what we've been talking about for a while.
Yeah, that was what I was about to ask you. Is your future just pure marketplace? I know you're going after the higher the value stuff, but once you have that, would you also just go pure marketplace and just take on every product that's out
We
there?
haven't gotten to that step yet, so I can't answer to it, but I think we still have a really long runway on the supply within the verticals that we're strong in today.
Because wouldn't now be the best time to go as broad as possible and have every product for the AI agent or for the AI search, so that you are the single source of truth for everything, things to do?
It is a good time to wire up as much as you can, I think. The question that we have internally is really around data management, supplier management, doing it the right way, and making sure you capture the right quality. And we don't take that lightly, because I know that was probably the mistake that happened at Groupon at some point in the growth story before. So we're going to be more cautious about the thought process with that.
We are going to be unveiling growth recommendations and alerts, analyzing the performance of the deals, the performance of the market, some things about trends that are upcoming, and providing recommendations there. Also, something Lori and I talked about that we got excited about is this notion of being able to talk to your data and curate your own reports and your own analytics from the data that we collect. I think that's a really big unlock for anyone that's an operator or a merchant, anyone running the business, right? That would be a huge gain.
So let's just lay that out, because I want to make sure everybody understands what you're talking about right now. And I think I understand this correctly, or I understood you correctly, that as a supplier, I can go into my portal and I can say, conversationally, I can say, hey, I'd like to know what my sales were in January of last year as compared to this year. And can you particularly highlight this particular product, this city, blah, blah, blah. So basically you're going in, you're kind of asking, for whatever information you want, and you're going to deliver that to the supplier.
Precisely that. And there could be other variations of that. So for example, advice on kind of seasonality based recommendations, right? What would work in a certain season that doesn't work in another season, year over year performance, like being able to on the fly ask any question of your data that you come up with, right? In the true kind of notion of SaaS platforms, we're bound by what you see on the page, right? And to change and ask a different question, that's a whole slew of actions that need to be taken by an engineer, by analyst, by a tester, right? But with these co-pilots, the idea is you get just-in-time answer, right? Without going through that entire chain. So
are you going to give me benchmark data against my competitive set? Obviously anonymous, but okay, this is how I've been doing this month, this year, this January, this year versus last year. Show me how my whole competitive set is.
We'll see. The world's our oyster there, and then we are, defining what these flows look like. But it's possible, yeah.
But honestly, I can tell you, as somebody that works with a lot of OTAs, that's you're really setting yourself apart. So race to get that done soon. So you're the first one out of the gate.
Your guy does something like that, don't they? Maybe not in an AI.
Get Your Guide has data for sure, but it's not that. No.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, that's really good stuff. So Christian, you're back. You fell off, I think, somewhere along the line. I was asking you a question. I asked you, why do you think it's necessary for Groupon to have everything in their marketplace?
Yeah, I started responding, and then everything went black, and
was that you blanking out, or was
I'm blaming the network? Well, I just think it's going to be all agents, and it's already, there's 800 million people using ChatGPT weekly, so that's already where search is starting, and you have these long tail searches. So whether it's getting your nails done at whatever the shop down the road, you need to be part of all of those results at these very long, 20, 30 word searches. And I think the agents are going to start I don't know if it's indexing or taking note or whatever they do, but they're going to start indexing companies that have the results. And someone like Groupon should be in a position to be kind of single source of truth for all services. Whereas who else would be that? You've got Google business profiles, but that's fine if you're Google. I don't see OpenAI paying Google for that. I don't see Anthropic paying Google for that. So there's only so many sources for that truth, really. Yelp maybe, but I'm not sure where Yelp is these days.
I totally agree with that. I think, but I don't see it as everything. I see it more as sort of, we have such a runway on health and beauty and some home and auto and some of our current verticals. And right now we've really built the right team for TTD, and you can see it in terms of our performance. And now we're just sort of replicating the playbook across. So for in terms of supply, I think that's our runway for the next couple years, and then accelerating it based on connectivity solutions in the middle that can help unlock additional inventory. So it's the same playbook, but we definitely know how to do it in the other verticals, and we're just starting that now.
And what about distribution side? What about B2B?
That's also on the roadmap. I don't have anything specific to share at the moment, but I think that's a whole nother opportunity for us that we're looking closely at right now.
Yeah, because I would imagine there's got to be a lot of people looking for your supply. There's not a lot of companies out there that have, a handle on that whole, I don't even know how you call it, the local market, I guess, right? So that's like all of the corn maze and the escape room stuff and just different things like that. There's really not a lot of people out there that have the bandwidth to go after that kind of supply. And do you find that supply, so if you were looking at kind of comparing the local supply with sort of the, I don't know if you call it just the things to do or what you call it, but sort of the observation decks, the theme parks, the attractions, the bigger or the more popular items when you go, especially if you're going to go visit a city, what would you say drives more revenue for the business, or would you say that your focus is more on local or more on the other?
It's balanced. So we just have different strategies for each one. And, speaking to local activities, which you were just talking about, it's fragmented. It's very hard to contract. The Groupon has sort of an in there because the merchants already understand it. And so they automatically know if I need to get more sales, I can call Groupon or I can work with my rep at Groupon, and there's a connection there. But we have a full sales floor of people working on this every day, around the clock, actually. And so that's a little bit different than the way we think about traditional tours and attractions, which is managed similar to the way the OTA space is, Lori, the way we've worked together too in the past. And so they're just completely different playbooks. But on the local activity side, we see suppliers that don't even want a website. They don't want to do checkout. They don't want to work with AI, and they also don't want to connect. And so that's where we have a really good standing with a lot of these suppliers. And I think there's an opportunity for us to expand that distribution out to other players too.
In that case, you'll be their ticketing engine, if that's.
We often play the part of their marketing partner. So instead of them even dealing with performance marketing, they sort of rely on us as their sales.
So here to book, land and Groupon to book. Yeah.
And they see great results. Like they, in terms of cost structure, I think it has better ROI for them a lot of times just to go through Groupon.
So here's another vertical we haven't talked about yet. We have a few minutes left that it seems like Groupon is really well positioned for, which is, we need a better name for it, live travel, right? Events, festivals, the kind of things you're talking about, pop-up events, but sports, music, festivals. And I think the reason Groupon has such a sweet spot for it is when you have empty seats at Yankee Stadium the day before the game, there's 10,000 seats open. I mean, that's they're speaking your language, right? So how have you guys looked at live travel, or maybe you have a better name because I don't really like that name, as an opportunity for Groupon?
Yeah, we call it Groupon Live. We have that vertical. And we do have partnerships with Live Nation, Ticketmaster, a lot of the big players in there. That is another area that we're doubling down on, just expanding.
Yeah.
So it's a trickier space because there's so many middlemen in that whole sector. And there's a lot of connectivity problems, which means extra costs. So it's not as easy to work with. But at the same time, it does sell well on Groupon today, and we're definitely expanding in that space too.
And the connectivity is just, it's really starting to happen, right? You would know.
Well, we've been connected actually for a while with Ticketmaster and Live Nation. I think we had the first partnership there on the things to do side. So, but it needs continual work, and it's a little bit more of a tricky beast.
Yeah.
So, Masha, what about reviews? Are you doing anything as it relates to reviews? And maybe you can talk a little bit about that, because to your point, Christian, obviously reviews, and to your point, Bruce, about brand, reviews are potentially what we'll have in the future to really showcase, what value you do bring to somebody.
Mhm.
And if brand is really not a thing, as Christian noted on his post yesterday, then reviews are even more important. So just wondering what you're doing there.
So summarizing the reviews both for the consumers, but for the operators, the merchants as well. And on that operator side, not just summarizing the reviews, but also triggering alerts when we're seeing that something is visible in the review, good or bad, right? We're actually looking at these alerts from the perspective of not just you did something well, right? Versus, um, uh, folks are complaining maybe a certain tour operator or a massage therapist, right? There is some kind of pattern of behavior that we can track through these reviews, and customer complaints as well through customer support channels, right? So kind of aggregating, surfacing that up, and providing more intelligence to the operators on what is going on the ground with their customers.
So do you surface specific reviews? Because this is something that I think I'm hearing more and more. And I just heard this recently at, I think it was the Get Your Guide Summit, where they're serving up reviews for specific. So let's say I'm a family and I come in and I've checked the category filter of family and interested in museums or whatever. And what they're doing is apparently serving up reviews that they think are most pertinent to that customer. So they're isolating that customer and saying, oh, we think these reviews will be more interesting to you. Is that something that you're doing as well?
So that's a really great pattern. Before we solidify anything that we launch to the entire audience, what we do is A/B testing. We roll out kind of a canary type of a release for just a small group, and then we benchmark and learn from that behavior, and then we roll out the feature the whole platform wide. So that's our approach there. And what you're describing is one of the patterns that we're experimenting with. But before we finalize, it would be based on the results of that A/B testing.
I don't know how an OTA would do that because they don't know the group until you go into the booking. That's not how tours and activities work, isn't it? It's funny when you search on Agoda, which is the Asian booking, right? If you search for one adult, the description of the hotel changes. It's great for singles. And then you change it to 2 adults, it's great for couples. Then you change it to 2 and 2, it's great for families. Everything else is the same, but it's all of a sudden now great
That's
for
good.
whoever.
That's good stuff.
To be.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So I just got one question for Masha. If you, and this is kind of my post yesterday, if you were an AI agent in 2 years when everything's like perfect, because they will be, of course, perfect, how would you decide between the 5,000 nail salons in New York City? I'm looking to get my nails done. I never have done, but if I'm in New York, and I'm guessing there are 5,000 or whatever, how would you choose 3 to serve to me?
Oh, good.
What do you
That's a great
think?
question. So it would be based on kind of the frequency, where you're located, where do you live, where do you work, what's the closest to you, what is your persona? Are you, like me, a middle-aged lady that has no time whatsoever, right? In that case, we will serve you a result that is closer to you, right? Versus somebody that is not, someone that is price sensitive. Maybe we surface something to them that offers a bigger discount, right? And it really matters. Also, we would look at what kind of nail services you've bought before. Are you into the Russian nails or you're into gel, right? These things actually matter a lot.
Would you be able to really think differently and offer one that's twice as expensive, but they'll come to you?
It depends on the audience, right? And what will resonate with that audience. And so again, it goes back to analyzing the patterns in the data and the consumer behavior and trends, right? It is entirely possible there's a new trend, there's a new, I don't know nail services all that well, but let's say there's a new fantastic nail service done by a robot of sorts, right? And it's further away, but it's a novelty, it's a trend, Like it is a true experience,
It's an
Instagram worthy,
experience. Exactly. Yeah.
right? In that case, yes, we would serve that up. Why not, right? That would draw the audience, right, and create a potentially brand new audience that is applicable to that kind of service.
But let me just dig in 1 second, Mash, on that. Maybe we'll go to like the Colosseum thing. You know, the 5,000 Colosseum tours. So this is what I was getting at with my post is there's 5,000 tours of the Colosseum. Let's just say there's a couple of hundred companies. How are you going to differentiate when the customer just needs to be shown 3 of them and they've all got excellent 5-star reviews, and you really can't, using whatever AI model you want, you can't tell them apart? What other signals do you think the AI is going to look for in the future to differentiate between these companies? Because everyone's going to have the same content, perfectly optimized. Everyone's going to have great reviews, whether they're fake or not, I don't know.
Mm.
What are the signals that the AI needs to have in the
You
future?
could look for things like similarity between other audiences that bought certain tours, right? How are they similar to you, and what audience that you're placed into? What are kind of the psychographics that play along there, right? Again, your group size matters. Are you going on this tour as a student alone? Then maybe, right, you want to meet somebody, like that could open you up to certain set of tours versus you're a family and you're looking to be around the other families. The data that comes from the reviews, for example, right, where people are raving about certain tours, or maybe complaining about tours, and sometimes a complaint is actually a good thing, right, for a certain audience. So for example, right, if I read a review that, oh, there was children screaming on the store, I wish I didn't I wish I didn't go there, I wish I did something else. For someone that is coming with a family, that may actually be a good thing, right? You want to be around other families with kids. So the more data that we have on the behavior and these purchasing patterns, the better the predictions are going to be.
I also don't think it's going to be that different to what it is today. It's just going to be more relevant to the search. So you might only see 3 instead of 50, but still people only shop the top 3. It's the same thing, right? So for us, it'll be, or for any OTA, it's going to be about differentiation, really clear USPs, and loyalty. Like why would you shop Groupon over buying direct? We have to have a really clear runway there the customers go to and are attracted to, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah, but we don't care about you. We care about the operators. How am I as an operator in Rome? You're fine. You can pick 3, but what about an operator that's now just going to disappear?
I still think they have to differentiate and
we're going to disappear.
platforms. I think they'll work with a lot of platforms. Like you have to be diversified, and then you'll get another sort of batch of them. But some of Lori, you're right.
Some of them are going to disappear. I mean, let's face it. We don't need 5,000, tour operators in Rome doing the exact same thing. And if we're only going to get better at, I don't know, we're only going to get better, but I would assume that the user experience is just going to get that much better, right? Because only the good stuff is going to surface to the top. Hopefully, only the good stuff. Now, then you'll have an availability issue. Mm-hmm. And that will be, that will also come into play. But I don't think that everyone's going to survive. There's just no way they're all going to survive.
Yeah, the only reason why that Rome issue exists is because tickets can only go out to a certain amount of reps every day. And so that creates its own problem. And it's a little bit of an anomaly. There's not a ton of those.
There's exactly.
Europe, but it's not all over the US.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's not 5,000 companies, right? It's 5,000 tours, which is very different.
It could be 5,000 companies if it's Rome.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, to Carrie's point, it's all about getting Vatican and Colosseum tickets, and it's the same way with the Louvre actually, but they've cracked down on that quite a bit. I have one question. I know we're running out of time. Do you have any plans to be the next app in ChatGPT?
Yes.
Oh, exciting.
I would say that we're thinking about it. So, we're already resources for it, but I've seen the demos so far. I don't think right now is the best time, but we do have a team looking at that.
Interesting.
Thinking about it, you need to be moving faster than that.
Well, have you demoed the most recent version?
I did. Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't work, but it's coming.
No, it doesn't work at all. And in fact, it actually told me to book directly with the hotels and not with the OTAs. So that was kind of an interesting conversation shared with Bruce yesterday. Well, I think we're running out of time. Any last minute, Bruce, Christian, anybody have any?
I mean, I would ask Masha, as from your point of view, I think we put you on the spot a little earlier about what's coming next at Groupon, but just what do you see coming next in our industry that is really going to be influential? Right now, I think there's a little skepticism of this recent OpenAI integration with Booking and Expedia, for example. But what's coming next that will really be influential in the next 3 to 6 months?
And my answer is pretty biased. Right now, it's all about autonomous agents for me. I understand that the AI right now is not as smart and is not as capable, right? But these models are improving quite a lot, right? So you add autonomy and agency there, and then suddenly you're, more than the operator inside ChatGPT, right? Which is kind of slow, but suddenly the OTAs may start offering agents to the consumers, right, that can work on their behalf. So I think that that's the big wave that's coming. And by the way, what OpenAI doing with kind of bringing the apps in house, not every large language model provider is doing that. There are some that are taking completely opposite approach, and we're yet to see which one wins.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Christian predicted that agents were going to rule the world 3 years ago, and he's still waiting.
I'd argue they are. I'd argue your ChatGPT is an agent today. If it searches, it's an agent, and that's what we use for search, right? Well, 800 million of us.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us today. It's been a great chat, and looking forward to seeing what's happening and what happens with Groupon in the next year. So we'll have to reconvene in a year's time to see where we're at. But thanks for joining. We'll see you
Thank
next
you.
Thank you, Masha. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Carrie.
time. Bye.